Back to the Culture Call on Praise 93.3 with L. Spencer Smith. Our desire is to reach and empower the community by discussing a cross-section of relevant topics from various perspectives that are essential to its growth and interpersonal connections. Be sure to save our call-in number, 205-752-4800. Be sure to install the free Praise 93.3 app so you can send L. Spencer Smith a message or topic idea. Search for WTSK in your app store.
This is the world premiere. Great morning, Culture Call. You know what time it is. That's right. I am here with you, your host, L. Spencer Smith, right here on Praise 93.3 FM, and we're going to have a great day. It's the place where Tuscaloosa meets the world. And for the next 2 hours from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., we're going to be talking a little bit about everything. That's right. From society to sports, education to economics, from religion to relationships. And as always, family, we are here to create a safe space to have empowering, provocative, and yes, sometimes controversial conversations. And guess what? You can call in, chat it up with me, and learn as we join together right here on the Culture Call. Listen, I want to send a special shout out, number one, to all of our first time listeners. Yeah, maybe this is your first time listening to the Culture Call. Welcome to the CC family. We are so excited to have you take this journey for the next 2 hours with us for some insightful, educational, empowering, prayerfully empowering conversation. And so whatever you're doing, if you're driving through our city, maybe you're sitting at your cubicle with your AirPods in, maybe you're on vacation. Nonetheless, does not matter what you're doing. We want to welcome you to our Culture Call community. And then number two, to all of my consistent, faithful listeners, dedicated listeners to the Culture Call, you have made us the number one talk show, in the state of Alabama, and I am grateful for that. I could not have done that without you. Always listening, always chiming in, always encouraging us to keep doing what's best for our community. I'm excited to be a part of that. And that is definitely a pleasure and a grace from God to be able to do that on the daily. So welcome again to all of our faithful listeners. And definitely, last but not least, I want to send a shout out to the amazing brother Jay that leads us right on in from 5 to 10. That's right. Playing the best in good gospel music, giving inspirational wisdom, and making sure that we are ready and prepared to conquer another day. I get in here at the studio and he hands me that revival hot baton and says, run on to see what the end gonna be. Guess what? That's exactly what I'm gonna do. Give a big shout out. That's right, to Brother Jay, telling y'all to take care of me and to treat me right. Absolutely. Listen, first things first, if you have not already downloaded our app, our digital app, go get your smart device, your Apple or your Android phone, and go to your app store. Yeah, that's where you download all your applications and plug in Praise 93.3 FM, and there you will find our free 99 app. Does not cost you a thing. All it costs you is some space on your device. Go ahead and download that and make sure that you can stay in tune, not just with the Culture Call, but all of the excellent, amazing programming that we have here on Praise 93.3. That's right. All the way, all the day long. We want you to go ahead and do that so that you won't miss out on one thing. So wherever you are listening, it could be in Detroit, Michigan. Definitely could be in Chicago, Illinois. Maybe you're in Memphis or Nashville, Tennessee, or right here in the beautiful city of Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Birmingham, Montgomery, Mobile, Huntsville, Aliceville, Gordo, Utah, Boulder G. Doesn't matter where you are. If you have that app, you can hear us all around the country, dare I say all around the world. And it does indeed make the difference. And I so much appreciate it. Listen, go ahead. Many of you have been already doing that, but go ahead and send in your public service announcements and events to culturecall.praise@gmail.com. That's culturecall.praise@gmail.com, and give me an opportunity to be your PR specialist. That's right. Folks need to know the things that are happening in your church, in your organization, whether it's your sorority or fraternity, whether you're an artist getting ready to do a new recording or have a concert, or whether you're a pastor getting ready to preach a revival or start a new church. We want to let everybody know the amazing, awesome things that you are doing to benefit our community. You know why? Because we do it better better when we do it together. Absolutely. And listen, go ahead and save the golden number. That's right, the golden number, 205-752-4800. That's 205-752-4800. Lock that into your phone and you can put Culture Call. That would be great. Yeah, I want you to give me a call and I want to hear from you. If you can't call in, I totally understand, but that's what the app is for. That's right. That's what the app is for. It has a chat feature. And you can send me your comments and your suggestions on the app. Yeah. And for the show, you can definitely do that on the app. And I receive them on air. That's right. And I'll read them and we can have a discussion via the chat. Absolutely. Hey, Bishop, I must have missed a few of your shows. But guess what? Go to Apple Podcasts. That should be, if you have an Apple phone, yeah, we're going to expand really soon. As soon as I get the technical understandings of how we can do that. But go ahead to Apple Podcasts and type in Culture Call. Leave the article out leave that out and you can tap in Culture Call, and guess what? You're going to see my handsome mug sitting right up there with all of our previous shows. And if you missed one, guess what? You can just find out the date that you missed. Plug it in. That's right. They update it every day. And yes, and I'm telling you, it is a tremendous blessing to be able to be a part of the show whenever you are a part. So I definitely want you to listen to what we are talking about and don't miss not one nugget, not one moment of the conversation. Hey, do me a favor. Sit back and relax. Grab you some coffee. Yeah, some Maxwell House or Starbucks, whatever you do. Yeah, maybe you are not a coffee fan. That's fine. Absolutely fine with me. Go ahead and get you some herbal tea, chamomile, if you're trying to calm down from a long night of working overtime, or get you some green tea if you're at work and you just need a little healthy caffeine kick. That green tea will do it for you. Or definitely you can get some alkaline or spring water and detox that body. That's right. Detox that body and wake those cells up. Tell those cells, get ready. Let's have a great day and let's get into the culture. Listen, we told you that this is indeed a twofold month. We said that on our last show, a twofold month. We've been talking about that, where it is Family Month and it is Men's Health Month, right? And so we're going to be kind of intertwining all of that this month, and so I definitely don't want you to miss that. I want you to chime in. I want you to take copious amounts of notes, because I think some of the things that we talk about will help you. And if not help you, it will definitely stir conversation as you go throughout the day. Again, my desire is to help our community so that we will not be late, last, and or lost. And definitely there needs to be an awareness of what is happening in our world, in our community, in our state. There's so much going on the political set. If you're paying attention, I hope you are paying attention to what is going on, because I'm going to drive into that. Part of what I do on the daily is attempt to be a public theologian. Yeah, not just one that resides in church and just simply bring you to an understanding of, what happens in the four walls, brick and mortar, or what just simply deals in what as the church as we know it, but public theology, talking about public, who we are as Christians and believers in the marketplace, right? And I know that there is some distanciation in certain areas and certain people's churches that we stay out of that. We let them handle that. We don't do anything with that. We're just going to deal with the church. But that's not biblical, number one. Number two, that's not what Jesus did. Number two, that's not really what the Bible is even all about. It does have a recording of spiritual and historical practice, but it also features the dynamic that addresses systemic injustice. It does deal with inequality and how we should treat our neighbor, how we should treat the foreigner, or in our current colloquialism, the migrant. It does tell us how we should do that, right? From the prophets, and also understanding the background and the historicity of the Matthean text. Yeah. And so it is public theology is where politics and social concerns meet the scriptures, and I want to talk about that because we do have a great part to play with regards to how our communities and our worlds are formed as the church, right? that we are in the world, but we are not of the world. That text does not mean that we don't care about the world. Absolutely not. We have to care about the world for ourselves, our children, and our grandchildren, right? That the world that we leave to them is the world that we will create in our time. So yes, we do definitely have to deal with that. And so we're going to be talking about that in the coming months as we get closer to this year's election and decision of who our leaders will be in our community. I think it is important that we have that conversation. Nonetheless, focusing on the thematics of this month, I am going to talk about today we're going to talk about men and the journey toward emotional health. We need to have a conversation about men and emotional health, or their EQ, right? Their emotional quotient, the ability to handle themselves emotionally. I think that has a direct effect on what happens in our community and how men begin to understand and handle and take the journey. And you're going to understand today why I call it a journey in terms of toward emotional health, because sometimes we don't understand that learning how to handle, manage, manifest our emotion, and that is a skill. It's a particular skill that has to be acquired, that no one really comes in the world knowing definitely how to handle the realm of their soul, their emotions, and things of that nature. And so that simply means that we have to learn how to acquire that particular skill set and capability in our lives. And it's most important for men who are often in leadership position, who are often determinative in cultural context with regards whether it's going to be deemed highly patriarchal, whether it's going to be even the issue of white supremacy, even the issue of fair and equal justice, how we handle a crime in our area, all of those different things, violence and anger, those things are predominantly dealt with from the male perspective. And so if we don't teach and train our men on how to be emotionally intelligent, if we don't teach that, if we don't disciple them in that area, we're going to be a community, a country, a world that will create wars and violence and think that we are right simply because somebody called us out of our name, simply because somebody stepped on our toes, or we don't like something or what that somebody did or the way that they are living. And that is very important. And so I know it is often given I want to start this conversation off because it is often given that emotions and all those things, those particular contexts of the affective and subjectivity are normally deemed something that women deal with. And I want to say that is patently false, right? That all of us have been created in the image and the likeness of God. And with that, we have to understand, and I say this all the time, and y'all know this, that we are tripart beings. That means that we are spirit, we possess a soul, and we live in a body, right? And so it is that area of the soul, it is that area that governs how we see the world. And governs how the world affects us mentally, how the world moves us, emotions, right? That they are implanted in the divine scheme of who we are as humans. So every one of us come to this world with the context of being emotional or having the capacity to be emotional over some sectors and of some sorts. And that's important to know because as babies, as children, none of us know how to manage that, because part of us getting a response from our parents and getting response from those who are to take care of us is to express those emotions, right? That's what the tears are about. That's what the whining and the crying is about, that we don't have particular language or vocabulary to communicate what we need and how we feel and what we so desire. And so we utilize our emotions a lot of times when we are children, right? Unbeknownst to any kind of level of training, but we just use them to get the attention that we need to handle or to get those particular desires taken care of. And I think that is very important, because what that says then is that the journey toward emotional health and intelligence and developing that particular skill begins when we are children, right? And we normally deal with that, yes, with children, but we somewhat don't teach little boys and little girls the same with regards to emotions, because early on in life, and I will say this, too early on in life, we are trying to get them to understand sexuality and gender as opposed to training their emotions. Now, you need to understand that sexuality and gender are things. First of all, gender has to deal with words and parts of speech from when we read Aramaic, when we read the Hebrew, when we read the Greek language. They also have tense, mood, and gender, right? Tense, mood, and voice, right? And so a word can be feminine, a word can be masculine, right? When you read those particular languages, not so much in English language, right? And so we're so busy trying to establish to a little boy what a man is supposed to be, or what is masculine, and to a little girl what is feminine or womanly, right? Or what that which is ascribed to femininity, that we don't cater to the wide range of being able to disciple and helping them discipline their level of emotion. So that means that from children, little boys are taught to house and keep their emotions, because if they are overly emotional, little boy, what you crying for? Man up. We'll tell a 5, 4, 6-year-old that, right? And without even thinking of what kind of psychology and or mindset and attitude that we are teaching and training them concerning their emotional skill set, right? And so instead of us asking and understanding why they are displaying that emotion outside of their sexuality, outside of their gender, I just want you, instead of training them to say, hey, be able to explain and be able to articulate what these tears are about, right? That stop crying. Let's talk about why you're crying. Let's talk about what you're feeling right now. We don't give that to little boys. We don't give that to them, right? And the older that they get, we teach them that expressing emotion other than anger, because they can't be too happy either, right? Other than anger, except when it's sports, athletics, right? Right. We teach them to compartmentalize. We teach them to, quote unquote, man up. We teach them to stifle. We teach them to be silent. We teach them and give them and we think that we are giving them the capacity of what it means to be a man, right? So we are taking that little 4, 5, 6-year-old boy who needs proper development of getting them to understand why certain emotions show up, right? And to apply what? Vocabulary to them, apply language to the emotions, be able to express the full context of why they feel a certain way. We rob that from them by telling them shut up, by telling them man up, by telling them get over it and things of that sort, right? And when we do that, we don't understand that we are creating a petri dish for the function of dysfunctionality, or for the fungus rather of dysfunctionality, emotional dysfunctionality when they become teenagers. Now you're wondering why they won't talk. Why are you wondering why the only emotions that they show is when they're angry, or, that they'll get something that they want, but they're not excited. They're afraid. Right? They have not been given the full capacity to be properly excited. They get their first car and they act like, oh man, they don't want to hug. They don't want to kiss. They don't want to do any of the things that we afford little girls to do, because we have been training them to be men imprisoned inside of themselves, because we don't give them ample space to express emotions, right? And so that's very, very important, what I just said. Remember, let's go back to the top, that we said that from a baby, emotions are displayed and are given, crying, tears, and all those different kinds of things, because there is not yet what? Language or vocabulary or words that they have to describe. They can't say, I am hurting. They can't say, I am hungry. They cannot say that this diaper is too tight, or I'm too hot in all of these clothes. They can't say all of those things. So what do? They cry. They can't say, I don't want to be around this individual because my little spirit is sensing, my pure spirit is sensing something about this individual, and I can't tell you why because I don't have the words to articulate, right? And again, especially in little boys. And so when we don't, because we are adults and unfortunately don't know how to discipline this skill set, that we don't know how to do that properly, we tell them shut up, or we ignore that, right? And so when we allow that and have not allowed them to express the language or given them or help them decipher the language that goes with tears and all of these different kinds of things, else they be considered punks or gay or homosexual or sissified and all that. We tell them man up, because again, what's most important for my little son is for him to be a man and not for him to have emotional intelligence. Teach in here, all right? Listen, I told you today is going to be a day, right? So that's what we do. And then they get to be teenagers, and moments that they should be excited. Only in sports do we allow them to express any level of emotion. Only when it comes to physical contact, right? Only when it comes to that. But they're sitting there as explosives waiting to ignite, waiting to detonate, right? And then we're trying to figure out where all these little boys, these teenagers, these guys, these young men in the street come up with all this anger. Why are they so violent? Why are this X, Y, Z? Well, let's take it back. Let's take it all the way back. Yeah. The reason why is because they've never been given the space. Yeah. They've never been given the space to develop emotional skill, emotional intelligence. Once again, this is why a lot of times women are much better in being able to handle their emotions than men are, right? Just because he doesn't express emotions, just because, it might seem like he has control over his soul, but he doesn't. Men go into silence. When they are emotional, they don't say a thing. They become seclusive, right? They become isolated, right? They distance themselves from any kind of interaction and any kind of conversation. Even if you notice with your spouse or your boyfriend or your partner, right, that whenever it gets to be heated or even emotional, they don't know how to be authentically emotional, right? They don't know how to allow their heart and their soul to speak, right? And so when they get mad, they retreat. Either they retreat, they go outside, they will do what? Leave. Because I have not been able to add words and vocabulary to what I am feeling. Culture call. I need us to pay attention to this because this is systemic in a lot of areas, and we're going to try to do our best within the maximum of 2 hours, even a little less than that, to talk about how we rob men from emotional intelligence. And then they get to an age where women now say, well, I want a man to be emotionally intelligent. I want a man to be able to express his emotions. And a lot of men are afraid of that, right? They are fearful of that. Why? Because they lack that skill. Why? Because when they were little boys, that space for that development or the cultivation of that capacity and ability was not given to them, because what we were concerned about is making sure that no one put a label on them about being a little girl or, all of the other mal nomenclature or labels on them, right? We want our little boys to be men before we allow them to be little boys. Right. But one of the highest sorts scripturally that it says of a man is him being able to control or to rule his own soul. That right there. In other words, the scripture is telling us in modern language that a man who is the height of a man, he knows how to have emotional intelligence. He knows that when things go a certain place, that he has language, he has words that gives the exhaust to these emotions that he feels. And so when he has words, he won't use bullets. When he has words, he won't use a knife. When he has words, he won't create war. When he has words, he won't go into a school and shoot up his schoolmates that had absolutely nothing to do with what he is feeling. When he has been given the capacity to connect these emotions to words. Do y'all get it? I need you to get it. That we have to now control, alternate, delete, right? We've got to reboot on how we are raising our young boys, and how we create that whole idea of emotional quotient, that whole idea of learning how to express your feelings and emotions in a healthy way. And in our community, we have got to change the labels of an emotionally expressive man as one that is feminine, as one that is gay, as one that is homosexual, right? We've got to begin to create a distance and disconnect all of those bad definitions. I say this all the time, that bad definitions lead to wrong destinations. If you want somebody to end up wrong, define them badly, right? Define them incorrectly, right? That is something that we have got to do and work on in the black community. We've got to do it. We've got to do it. And here it is, even especially when a son communicating with his father, right? That a father who doesn't know how to handle hugs and kisses from his son, right, will reject his son's affection, because to that father, it means, in his mind, it means his son is exemplifying a gay and or tendencies, right? And again, I'm not adjudicating any kind of gender or sexuality, but I'm trying to show you, Culture Call, how we can badly label it, because his father has very low emotional quotient, right? His father has very low, I can remember when I started hugging my dad and kissing my dad and just like I would do my mom, I could feel when I started that he was very, very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable, right? Man, get off me. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Or, growing up, he'd show us how to, he like, give me 5. Whenever we did something, give me 5, man. And we give dap and we do this handshake. But all of the other affections, I wanted to hug my dad. I wanted to show him I really appreciate, all of this. But he had no emotional quotient. That was not given to him as a little boy. He had to man up, right? When he was 12 years old, to take care of his younger brother. He had to do all of that because his father left, right? And so he didn't know how to respond to his sons. And I remember my feelings being so hurt. And my mom says, keep hugging and keep kissing. It's working. Keep hugging, keep kissing. It's working. You're thinking he's rejecting you. He doesn't. He doesn't know how to respond. And when my mother told me that, I was like, okay. And I kept doing it. And slowly but surely, I saw my dad soften to my touch. I saw my dad begin to reciprocate. I saw my dad beginning to initiate the hugs, right? I have a picture of my dad, and it was the day that, as a pastor, I baptized my dad, and he came up, and we were giving out certificates, and he came up with his arms open wide to hug me. And it shocked me, but somebody captured that, and I still have it in my phone. And that is, I always post it on Father's Day, because, that was the day that I began to really, really see that my dad is human. He's a man. He has emotions. He's human. And for years, he has been stifling the language of his emotion. He was highly intelligent in math, highly intelligent in music, highly intelligent in every other phase, how to build things, how to do certain things. But he had very, very low intelligence in his emotions. And he didn't get that until he was in his late 60s and early 70s, right? And so I thought of that, and I'm saying to you today that a lot of times we have to be the first generation. If you're listening to me, you have to be the first generation to reboot on how we allow and how we teach little boys how to be affectionate to their fathers and make room for fathers who have never had that in their life. It's a reality in the black community. And I promise you, when we allow them and help them discipline their emotions and help them attach words and give language to their emotions, violence is going to come down. Yes, abuse is going to come down. right? All of these relational disconnects are going to decrease, right? And women, you can't ask for an intelligent man, an emotionally intelligent man, and then when he's emotionally intelligent, you try to out emotion him. Right? Because yes, society has taught you that your emotions are most important in a relationship, and they are not. Right? And so it's going to take a community effort to really deal with what we're talking about today on the Culture Call. Listen, I'm yours truly, L. Spencer Smith, right here on Praise 93.3. We're going to have a great conversation today. I need you to keep it locked right here and don't miss it.
This is the world premiere.
And we are back right here on the Culture Call with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith, Praise 93.3 WTSK. We are having an amazing day and an amazing discussion, amazing talk. Men and the journey toward emotional health and intelligence. Yeah. And, I'm telling you, I believe that this is a powerful topic as a man, as a father of sons, as a pastor of men, as a brother in fraternity. Yeah, I am, a brother in life. It is very important that we have this conversation, and a lot of times when I listen to people who try to discuss and to decipher sociological ills or societal ills, let me say that, they never deal with the sociology. They never deal with this portion that a lot of what we see. This is why a lot of our young men who go to jail, part of that jail is really not a place that is specializing in rehabilitation, because if it did, it would do some RCA, some root cause analysis on why these young men are choosing violence, why these young men are so angry, why these young men are so what appears to be feelingless, right? And, one of the things that was done in the 80s and the 90s is the show, Scared Straight, where they brought the young men who were potentially getting ready to go to prison, and they tried to scare them. In other words, using the emotions of fear to keep them out of jail. But part and parcel of what really needs to happen is there needs to be a sociological study of the entire community, and how are these young boys, again, given and deeded the capacity to emotionally express themselves. I think that is very important. That if we don't talk about that, and you see, notice when I'm having these discussions, I'm always going to start from the Bible. I'm always going to start from the scripture, because, some people are like, well, if the Bible don't say, no, the Bible does say a whole lot about a whole lot, but it takes someone who has been skilled to see it, and who has a revelation from Holy Spirit, and who has done the study, who has done the work of understanding about human development and what it means to be in the image and likeness of God, and how do we marry those two, that anthropological and that theological understanding, and how we cause them to have a level of confluence, so that we can understand better not just who we are, but who our neighbors are as well, right? I think we've lost that context, long lost that context in American society. And as a matter of fact, that has never been a facet of American society, except that, white men try to understand white men, but they otherize, or they fear others who are not European or whatever, Western like them, instead of making it all anthropological, understanding who we are in the sight of God, right? And the God that does not look like you, right? And so you have to understand that in a world of images, graven images, and idolatry, a lot of times we sanctify and we make holy and sacred that which, if we really understood the Bible, that the Bible would cast down. Right? That God is not to be given an image, right? Because to give God an image, to say this is what God looks like, is to rise other people, right? It is to elevate what you look like over what somebody else looks like. And so I get the whole understanding of white Jesus versus black Jesus, and I get white God versus black God, white angels versus black angels. I understand all of that, the historical context of that, which was not a biblical context. First of all, it's not a biblical context. It started in the Dark Ages, right? It started in that time when men really did not have any kind of sociological understanding. They were trying to develop a system of supremacy out of the Roman Empire, because at that particular time, Rome was understood to be the gods of the world because they had conquered so much of the world. But at the end of the fall of the Roman Empire, there began to be an effort toward how can we create a level of superiority and supremacy among humanity that showed that white people were more superior than black people. But that's not something that the Bible never sees people in terms of race. Never saw that. Maybe ethnicity. Right? The region that you came from, it doesn't matter what color you are, it's the region of the world that you came from, but they weren't tripping over a black man and a white man. That was something that happened in the Dark Ages, and it happened, that particular social construct happened for the very purposes of white supremacy, so that the world could be colonized effortlessly without any pushback, because in their mind they misinterpreted scripture to mean that white and white adjacency was what God has ordained as superior. Well, that's not even what Genesis 1:28 says, that we are not to have superiority or dominion over each other with regards to color, race, creed, sexuality. No, humanity is supposed to co-partner with each other to have dominion over the earth, over the birds of the air, the fish of the sea, the every creeping thing, the beast of the field, right? I mean, it's right there. It is right there, right? Any kind of animosity and distanciation, first of all, happened after the fall in Genesis chapter number 3, and was mainly over territory, was mainly over ethnicity, where you come from, what land you come from, but it was not about color. Right? So I just wanted to bring that out as we talk about this. And so this whole idea has always been to communicate. When you really do a deep study, one of the ways that that whole idea of supremacy dealt with, especially in our community, is to control emotions, right? To control emotions, to silence the song, to silence the drum, to silence the rhythm, to change the words, to change the name, to change the spiritual context of these people, right? To disconnect them, because they are highly emotional people. They are highly people who feel. They are people who have all of these context of feelings and emotions and affectives that we don't have from the deep, damp darknesses of our caves. That the only thing that we know is violence. The only thing that we know is conquering via anger and via subjective superiority, right? When you think about that, when you start thinking about that, then that must needs be a reason that where we live now, that we've got to do the hard work of really recreating certain standards and certain tenets within our community that allows for the full vibrancy of humanity and divinity to show forth through all people. Yeah, that when I'm joyous, I want to be able to be joyous. When I, and not just when I'm on the football field, not just when I'm winning a trophy, but when at the birth of my children, I want to be a father that's able to cry and able to hug, right? I want to be that man that's able to do that. And not only that, I want to be able to have sons that know how to do that. I want them to be comfortable hugging me and kissing me and touching me. I want them to be able to put their babies in my arms and cherish that moment as my sons, and not just give that to my daughters. I want my sons to be able to say that I did something, that I put something in the earth, and find no fear in crying. Right? That when little boys cry, they're wiping their tears quickly, because I don't want nobody to see me to cry. Why? Why? That is a mental hedge and barrier that we put around the psyche of their soul, that we rob them of the divine context of their emotions. We literally take it from them, and we imprison their emotions and leave their emotions without language. That has struck me, and I want that to strike you today, Culture Call, that we have generations of men, our granddaddies, our great-granddaddies, our fathers, our sons, our nephews, our brothers. We have really created a negative cycle of them not being able to have language and words and lexicon and vocabulary that goes along and partners with their emotions. Now, we give that to girls. We give that to women. We give it to them. We allow them, right, to shed their tears and to add words to explain why. We allow them to have their emotions and then give them space to explain why they feel this way, right? We give that to girls freely. We help them cultivate it. Yeah. And so there is a language now, or there is a move and momentum now, so that we can now add that language to men, right? And it's very difficult. The older you begin, the more difficult it is to have the conversation around emotional health and intelligence for men. Men will die of heart attacks, high blood pressure, strokes, and other internal diseases, not because it is genetic, not because they smoke or drank or treated their bodies wrong. No, but because of their emotions have never been able to properly be exhausted from their bodies. They're never able to say, babe, rub my head, I'm tired. To lay their heads in their wife's chest and their wife's breast. The Bible says that that a man ought to be able to enjoy his wife's breast, not just for sexuality, but for emotional exhaust, and let her know what's on. See, the powerful thing, watch this. The powerful thing about Delilah, here I go, was not just that she tricked Samson. That wasn't what it was. That Delilah acquired a part or an aspect of the Proverbs 31 woman. Okay, wait a minute. Bishop, what are you talking about? Oh, yeah, that her husband, Samson, could safely trust in her, so much so that he was able or found a safe space to express what his secret was. My. And most men walk around with secrets, right? Even they're married, but they walk around with secrets, and they walk around with indecencies and fears. You know why? Because they've never been able or given the space to have a conversation about their emotions and what they feel without fear of retribution. Oh, what you mean? What you trying to say? See, so men would rather not express, right? And they don't express it because a lot of times male expression of their emotions are rejected or weaponized against them. Okay, come on. Let's talk wives. Let's talk women. Come on. That's the facts. So a man will not tell you what he's feeling because he's not particularly sure of how you're going to handle his journey of emotional intelligence. And again, remember, when he's an older man, he already doesn't have vocabulary. So his words may not always come out right. You want his words. See, you've been practicing this for years, right? You've been doing this since you've been a little girl, expressing your emotions. Hey, this dude 40, 42, 45, and now you want him to be emotionally intelligent. Well, he's going to stumble over his words and his vocabulary because it wasn't given to him and taught to him, that it wasn't partnered with him as a young boy as it should be. Right? And so we're pulling on him to do something and to express something and to display something that he doesn't have the language for. And when he is inarticulate and being able to express those emotions, you get upset. You get mad, or he feels like, this is not a safe space. Yeah, you see, and that's important. That's it. That's so very, very important. As a matter of fact, y'all ready? Drum roll. Listen, I get it. She has lips, hips, and fingertips. Hear me, fellas. Hear me, guys. Hear me now. She might have lips, hips, and fingertips, and just is fine. I'm talking about everything you want physically. But push pause, sir. If she cannot handle your emotional journey, if she cannot handle your emotional intelligence, if you can't tell her your secret and you can't be naked and not ashamed in front of her without fear of retribution, she is not the one. I said it once, I'll say it again. Yeah, you can roll your eyes, you can suck your teeth, but guess what we're going to tell you? It's the truth, the truth. We are going to tell you what the Lord loves, and that is the truth. If she has all of that in her physicality and you're talking to her about emotions, I think that's gay. I think this is, I think that, no, sir, no. She doesn't have a capacity and the emotional intelligence to be able to reciprocate what you're giving her. And I'm telling you, she is a dangerous woman to trust your heart with. Okay. Let me talk to you wives for a minute. Yeah, I know. See, men, you always want to see strength. You don't want to deal with his emotions. Let's tell the truth. You don't want to deal with his tears. You don't want to deal with him. You want him to be strong. I get it, because that is a cultural and societal context, right? And then on the flip side, however, you get upset. And there is a problem when the other woman who he can talk to on his job, that he expresses his emotions and she just handles, she's like, oh, you can talk to me. And yeah, you get mad. Well, how come you can't talk to me? Well, see, again, I see the text says, listen, don't make your partner fast because of incontinency. That means they're not able to hold themselves. Right? Incontinence is normally used with a word with regards to the strength of the urinary system or the urinary tract, right? Incontinence means that he doesn't know how to hold his liquid waste or incontinence, right? But it means that if you make them fast in an area, if you withhold in an area, they say, hey, don't do that, because really what you won't do, somebody else will give them that space for a release. Teach and hear. I think I will. That's right. And so now you got to do the work. Culture call. You got to do the work of saying, have I allowed women, wives, daughters, sisters, have I been a safe space to allow my man to release his emotions? Yes. Have I given him that space? Have I given him the playing platform and the territory to be able to find his words in that area if he's not been taught it as a little boy and he's trying to is he safe? Or do I bring it up when I want my way or in a moment of intense fellowship? Well, that's why okay, see, there it is. That's what I'm saying. And so you got to be able, we got to talk about this journey. My goodness, this is not enough time. You got to be able to take that journey with him. Men deserve that. Let me say that. Men deserve that. Listen, got to take a break. Yeah. This is the Culture Call with yours truly, Bishop L. Smith, right here on Praise 93.3, your inspiration station. I need you to go ahead and get you hydrated again and keep it right here. There is so much more to come. And we are back. It's the top of the hour right here on the Culture Call. 11 a.m. and some change. With yours truly, Bishop L. Smith, right here on Praise 93.3 and WTSK. Having a great and amazing day. Want to welcome all of our second hour listeners. That's right. Maybe you weren't able to hear us at the beginning of the show, but you're joining us now. Well, guess what? You're in the place to be to have amazing, empowering conversations. This morning, we are talking about men and their journey to emotional intelligence. And my goodness, I'm telling you, if you missed that first hour, you're going to have to go back and listen to the entire broadcast. It's going to be, listen, I'm telling you, it's going to blow your mind. But I wanted to create some tension. That's what I hope I've done already, to create some tension in the conversation, because I think, I'm going to do a conference or a seminar about this, because I think we have a great distantiation of connection in terms of relationships, emotions, because there's a lack of understanding between the sexes. And one of the things that you see even today in modern culture and times, especially in the political realm and in the religious realm, is a quest for superiority and control by men over women, right? And they only want to control. You only seek to control what you really do not understand. Let me say it again. You only seek to control what you really do not understand, right? Because you're afraid that if I allow that thing to exist in its own power, if I allow that thing to exist in its own understanding, then guess what? What's going to happen if they are in charge, or if they're in leadership? And men are quite afraid of that. That all has to deal with, emotional intelligence. It has to deal with patriarchal society. It has to deal with not just ignorance, but the ignorance that has prevailed over generations, right? Over history, over misinterpretations and malinterpretations of scripture, bad hermeneutics, definitely, eisegetical teaching, not as opposed to exegetical approach, proper exegetical approach, and where we take scriptures out of context and we apply some kind of godness to what we believe in terms of what the man's role is and what the woman's role is, and we try to explain God out of what God said about the roles that each of us have for each other. And I think that is it has led us to where we are today. And it doesn't matter how you feel about contraception, doesn't matter how you feel about abortion. You have to understand what God is saying and what the times are speaking to us, and show and to recognize how far we are out of order, how far we are out of the order of God to be able to handle and to measure exactly what needs to be as partnerships in this world. And part of that is allowing and helping men to discover their journey of emotional intelligence, right? Because of a lot of men who are in leadership, in church, in politics, in wherever, they are not emotionally intelligent, right? That a coach that will scream and holler and do backflips because his wide receiver just ran 75 yards and made a touchdown is the same coach that will not even care about his son falling off a bike. He won't even know how to handle his son's tears, right? And so we see there's great disconnect, great emotional disconnect there, because this is something that is afraid. I don't know how to wipe my son's tears. Go to your mama. And that's what men say. Go to your mama. Go to your mama with all that crying. No, but why can't he come to his father? Why can't he do that, right? And so that's because there's a lack of language. There's a lack of understanding. There's a lack, watch this, of intelligence in that area. Listen, before I go any further, I do have a public service announcement that I do need to share that someone sent in. And so it is from the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, the Eta Xi Omega chapter right here in West Alabama, where Tuscaloosa. It's the Wear Pink, Buy Black, Spin Green at the Wynn Center on Stillman College this Saturday, June 8th, 2024. That's right. Again, at the Wynn Center, Stillman College, from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. That's the Wear Pink, Buy Black, Spin Green, this Saturday from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. at the Wynn Center at Stillman College. And they want you to come out and shop with minority women-owned businesses featuring amazing products and services, including boutique fashions, jewelry, beauty products, books, and coaching. So it's going to be an amazing day for with Eta Xi Omega as they sponsor the Wear Pink, Buy Black, Spin Green, right? Event there at the Wynn Center at Stillman College, 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. You don't want to miss it. This Saturday, June 8th, 2024. Don't miss it, from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. at the Wynn Center with Eta Xi Omega. It's going to be an amazing event, and you need to be a part of that. They have an amazing group of women that's going to be featured on this weekend, and I promise you, ma'am, I promise you, sir, you do not want to miss that. Listen, so I want to use this moment, right, to talk about how we can bridge the gap. And I want to go back and I want to use the Bible, right? I want to use the scriptures so that we can have a biblical base for whatever we say and whatever we do, right? The whole objective, remember, ladies, let me just talk to you for a moment. But no, I'll start off talking with men. Men, please understand that God has given us all of the agency and power of his divine wisdom, of his divine knowledge, his ingenuity, his innovation, his ability to, his imagination, his will. He has placed that all inside of us as men, right? But then he looked out and saw that it was not good for men to be alone, or for man to be alone, or better yet, all one. And so out of man, he took out the rib and put that man to sleep, formed a woman for the very purposes the text says, because she was, I will make him a helpmeet suitable. I'm going to create him some help. I'm going to create him an assistance, not an assistant, but assistance. Okay. Did you hear the language? Huh? I'm going to create him assistance, not an assistant. In other words, the woman is not your secretary. That's not what she is. She is your assistant to recognize in the ability where you are not productive as a man, where you are not effective and efficacious as a man. God gives a woman to help you come out of those areas. Okay, or help you develop in those areas, right? Good deal. Women, did you just say that? Women, did you just hear that? Okay, good. Yeah, you're not an assistant. You are an assistance for the man, right? Not subservient assistance, but assistance. Because your role is to make sure the best of that man comes into fruition by the assistance that you provide for him, or that you help him become the best of who he is. Now, I hear you. What about me? What about me? What about me? No. Understand. He began to say, watch this, you are bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh, and the two become one. In other words, you can't by nature help him and not even help yourself. It is his desire. It is his pleasure. It is his instruction. It is his divine assignment to make you, or to help you become the best woman as well. Because you becoming the best woman, right, it only elevates the assistance that you can provide to him. Do you see? Nobody's left out. Nobody is left out is where I'm trying to go with this. So I don't want you to miss that. No one is left out of the equation, right? That man and this woman, they work tangentially together. They go in the same vector, right? It's not, well, what about my needs? Neither one can say that, because God never gave man to be over woman. Again, assistant is not what you are. Assistance is what you are, right? And you don't use that assistance to manipulate, to witchcraft your way, right, into getting what you want. No, you assist. You are his assistants to make sure that he becomes the best of who he can, while simultaneously his assignment is to make sure he takes care of your needs, takes care of your desires, to make sure that your vision is never left alone when you are the assistants to his. See, let them have dominion. Now, why are you bringing this up, Bishop? I'm glad that you asked. I am bringing this up as a bridge so that we can get some context of what we're really, really talking about. What we're talking about here is simply this. It is, if you recognize, and of course, that's from a creational context, but when a man comes into your life, ladies, your job is to be, I hate to say job, but your role is to be his assistance, much akin to the Holy Spirit is in the life of the believer, right? That you guard his heart can safely trust you Even as you say, hey, okay, I know you upset, babe. What's happening? What's going on? Put some words with it. Use your language. Use your words. Tell me how you feel. Tell me what you're thinking. What's on your mind. Right? And that kind of man whose heart has been made to feel safe will reciprocate. Babe, what's going on? Tell me how you feel, baby. Yeah, because you become his favor. You become his safe space. Huh? That's it. And here is the truth. Oh, my goodness. Here is the truth. The truth of the matter is all men really want is a safe space to be. Not a safe space to be a man, but a safe space to be. Because every day that man, from a cultural and sociological, societal pronouncement, does not always feel like the man. Right? He doesn't always feel like a man, rather, but you are to make him feel like the man. Right? That you come from God. You are God's child. That's it. Exactly. And because listen, that kind of man, the Bible says, will never abuse his own body. And that's when Paul was talking about husbands and wives. He will never abuse his own body. He will never hurt himself. He's going to do everything. And look at the metaphor there. Look at the allegory that metaphor, not allegory, but look at the metaphor there. Paul says that kind of man will take care of his woman, his wife, like he takes care of himself. He will never abuse her. He will never harm her because that woman is his assistance. That is his safe space. That is his favor. That is his shelter from the storm. Right? He's going to make sure nothing happens to you because whatever is going on in the inside of him, you become his ear. You become the place where he can discover language that he didn't even know that he could have. Absolutely. And see, society has created a competition. Let me say this again. Society has created a competition, right? And that is because the whole issue is who's going to control who. No, that is not what it is. It's us being each other's paraclete, each other's comfort, each other's safe space. And part of the journey, that's why I challenge you in the last hour that if you're not ready to be the safe space for a man's emotional journey toward that health in that area, then move yourself out of the way. You will be a detriment to that man. Because I'm telling you, most men do not come with the level of emotional intelligence even to be married. Right? Provision is not just about money. And if you think it is just about money, if you think it's just about what he can provide with regards to numbers and figures, you've already missed your assistance assignment. No, he has a heart. He has emotions. He has feelings. He has imaginations. And that woman is there that those things can be cultivated. You begin to multiply it. You begin to let him know, babe, that I am the safe space for you to talk about your dream. I am the safe space that you have to help you and to make sure that your desires for us and this family come to pass. A wise, emotionally intelligent, spiritual man will never allow your dreams, imagination, sis, to go unmet when he has been provided that. Period. Exactly. See? That when I discovered that my wife was a safe space and she was sitting up in church, I knew that there was more. When I met her, she was a brilliantly intelligent woman. And coming from the school of business and industry at Florida A&M, and anybody who is ever researched FAMU School of Business and Industry, that's one of the top producing business schools in the entire country. Absolutely. Up there with Harvard and Wharton Business School, right? So, yeah, right? And that's what I met. right? She wasn't some diminutive pastor's daughter. No, she wasn't some a woman that didn't have agency and didn't have worth. No, she was a powerful woman of dreams and imagination and vision. So when she became my wife and I started pastoring, part of my assignment, I would look at her every Sunday as I was preaching, and she was becoming something that I was like, who is this person? Dressing up like an old lady, trying to fill this particular position, looking a decade ahead of her years? No. I said, no, God, show me how to bring out the vibrancy of my wife, the woman that I met, right? She has had my children. She has helped me in this, but I don't want her dreams to fail while my dreams expand, that her dreams diminish. No, because how she's taking care of me, God, show me what she needs, right? And so I pushed her. I sure did push her. She's excelled in it, but I pushed her into Mary Kay. I pushed her into the business area because that's where she excelled. I pushed her into empowering women and making money and all those things. That's what I did. I said, babe, whatever fear you have about yourself, right? Like you've helped me overcome my fear, I'm going to help you overcome your fear. And now she is a prominent national sales director. She has risen to the top of her profession, right? And I encourage that all the time. I'm not an insecure man. I'm not a man that doesn't know how to articulate his emotions. I'm not a man no, absolutely not. But she helped me. She was my assistant in that area, right? But neither did I lack that because my mom would help me as well. Hey, what is this about? What is that about? Articulate that. No, don't. I would spend days crying in the bathroom after school, and my mom would knock on the door and say, okay, open up the door and let's talk about what's going on. Let's talk about what's going on. Unfortunately, I didn't get that from my father. I didn't get that from him because he didn't get it from his. So I can't hold my father penalty to teach me a lesson that was not taught to him. The men in that time were not taught about what we're talking about now. The importance of emotional intelligence. They were just taught to provide, go out, get a paycheck, come and take care of your family. That's all they were taught. Consequently, that's all that a lot of women have made men. They want that man, but you got to accommodate the full parameter of who he is, which is his emotional being. You got to be careful. I was looking at this thing on social media, and this girl was telling, girl was like, well, I want an emotional intelligent man. Right? and the lady said, listen, sis, you better understand what you're asking for in an emotional intelligent man. Because when you get an emotionally intelligent man, you better make sure you can handle that. Because that emotional intelligence will allow him and give him space to tell you what he might not like about what you're doing. And he might not like this and might not like that. And when he expresses himself, you can't tell him it's stupid or it's negative or he's hating you. No, he's expressing his emotions. Yeah. So sis, before you ask for that kind of man, you better toughen up and you better make sure that you have the capacity to also be emotionally intelligent, because I've found out over years of counseling people, or advising people, because I don't counsel, the years of advising people and meeting with folks and having conversation, that a lot of people want an intelligent man, but yeah, they're not emotionally intelligent themselves. And so they don't really know what they're asking for. Right? You just want something that you saw on the internet. You want something that you saw on TikTok. You saw something that or that you want on Instagram. But no, it takes some work. Do you hear me? I said it takes some work to be with an emotionally intelligent man. He's got to be an emotionally intelligent man requires an emotionally intelligent sister, because they've got to work together in life. They've got to work together in life. Right? That a man, see, right now, we're dealing with, even in the political sector, we're dealing with men that don't know how to express emotional intelligence. Well, one does and one does not. But he's also telling you his incapacity to have emotional intelligence, that he doesn't have any. Because his thing is, if I win, I'm going to make everybody that has hurt my feelings pay. Right? right? I'm going to go after those who don't agree with me. Well, that's a person that lacks emotional intelligence, right? I don't care how much people try to messiah him. It got quiet in here. I don't care how many people, go after him because they're trying to protect their money, and they've risen to a place where they don't have the existential worries and or needs of other people. No, I'm telling you, it will be a dangerous thing if you put an emotionally unintelligent individual, man, in power. I'm telling you, if you listen, look at how they treat their wives. Look at what they've done to their wives. That is an emotionally unintelligent. They don't have emotional capacity. And if you put that person in leadership, it will never be about true, authentic power that protects people. It will only be about who can control and who he can control and who's going to agree with him. And it will be authoritarian. It will be a despot. It will be a king. Yeah. Exactly. And a lot of people who are in the evangelical sector, they will vote for that because that is the stream that they come from. That's what they believe. That's what they think their assignment is in family. That's what they think is supposed to be happening. Absolutely. That's what they think. That's why they're trying to control. Because look at their wives have no emotional intelligence. These men have no. So you don't see their wives, or they're sitting there as Stepford women. That all I need you for is your vote, and you vote the way I want you to vote. I'm going to use your vote, Exactly. And so just look, you got to understand, pastors are like that same way too. When you have an emotionally unintelligent pastor, watch their wives. Watch how they treat the women in church, right? They'll have a propensity to open themselves up to extramarital affairs and situations like that, because that's the epitome of their manhood. Yeah. See, you got to understand. You got to know that there is great danger in having a society of emotionally unintelligent or emotionally ignorant men. Because when they don't know how to handle their emotions, their next thing is about what? Control. Huh? That's what it is. I'm controlling this. I'm controlling that. I'm going to take this away. I'm revenge. And I'm going to do this. Listen, emotionally unintelligent. They are walking in the dark emotionally. The thing that's going on in Israel and Gaza, you're looking in the Bible, but that's not. They have emotionally ignorant men at the helm. They're trying to take something that they think belongs to them. Without any regard for diplomacy, without any regard for anything. I'm just going to bomb. I'm going to wipe people off the face of the planet. Think about how disconnected you got to be in your mind to think and that's happening even in the streets of our own community. That young boy is like, I don't like them. I don't like the shoes they wear. They're on my side of town. I don't like this. And so I'm going to wipe. You going to take somebody out because of that? Yo, that is emotional ignorance. And we've got to have a conversation. Listen, I got bills to pay and I got something to say, but I can't say it all at one time. Listen, this is the Culture Call with yours truly, Bishop L. Spencer Smith, and I need you to stay tuned because there is much more to come. Don't miss it.
This is the world premiere.
And we are back right here with yours truly, Bishop L. Smith, on the Culture Call. Praise 93.3 WTSK. And we have been having a time today. Listen, just want to make another community reminder. Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Eta Xi Omega chapter wants you to join them this weekend for the Wear Pink, Buy Black, Spin Green event. Saturday, June 8th, 2024 at the Wynn Center on Stillman College from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. And they want you to come out and shop with minorities ladies, women-owned businesses featuring amazing products and services, including boutique fashions, jewelry, beauty products, books, and coaching. It's going to be a wonderful time there this Saturday from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. The Eta Xi Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated want you to come to their Wear Pink, Buy Black, Spin Green event at the Wynn Center on Stillman College this weekend, this Saturday from 12 to 3. Listen, I want to make certain that we understand and have some level of because I don't want anyone upset with me. I'm used to it, so it is what it is. But I want you to see that maybe, let's just consider, because we know you're always right. But maybe consider that we have given our men a very difficult labeling, when really, if you cannot walk and someone never took the time to teach you how to walk, and now you're 20, 25, 30, and I have an expectation for you to walk, but you were never given that opportunity to do so or taught that skill, it is quite unfair for me to be mad at you and to be angry at you about your lack of mobility. Because guess what? It's really not your fault. It's really not your fault. It is a skill that you did not learn. And so the reason why I wanted to broach the subject this morning is because I think we unfairly accuse men. I really, really think that we have unfairly accused men of simply being harsh for harshness' sake or violent for violence' sake and missing dads. I think we're missing a point. I believe that there are many sociological and, effects and causes for that, right? For why men show up the way that they show up, right? But I think that we've got to also go a little bit deeper, that these men in question have been debilitated. They have been disabled. They have been, in terms, emasculated, right? They've been emasculated by introducing a level of masculinity that, if we are not careful, can, yes, turn toxic, can turn violent, can turn disconnective, and et cetera, right? That when we do not understand what our responsibilities are from that baby boy, we don't teach that. We could go throughout series. It would take me 2 or 3 years to really teach the series about this if we go through this from the Bible, especially in the Old Testament feature, especially in that. If we look at a lot of the revered patriarchs and how, their fathers are a lot of times not even mentioned, right? They're only mentioned for pedigree and for genealogy's sake, but not the interactive relationship that think about, the toxic relationship between Isaac and Jacob and Esau, right? Think about that there was some level of missingness, right? Think about the care that Abraham gave to Isaac, but did not give to Ishmael, right? Think about all of that. Think about Jesse and his treatment of David. That all of the undersons were treated in a certain way, but David was out in the field. Think about how that developed, right? Think about the insecurity, the grave insecurity of Saul, right? When you think about that, think about Gideon and him being the black sheep of the family, right? Think about all of that. See, I want you to put to think beyond just our normal characterizations of the individual. I want you to think beyond that. Yeah, because if you don't understand what I'm saying, if you don't begin to look at those people from a circular context, from a whole human context, right? If you're just looking at what they did and what they did not do, and then it's easy to judge them. It's easy to disconnect your reality from their reality, right? that you don't see yourself as them. You just see them people going by, right? And so understand that. If you think about Absalom, think about him and his relationship with David and how he was so angry, emotionally angry with David because how David handled the raping of his sister. That David didn't even handle that properly, right? And so think about the emotional context of that in his heart. See, I think we have a particular way of seeing individuals, especially men, and not even giving credibility of that person's emotional intelligence, the emotional journey. And dare I say, if we don't do that well, if I, as a man, cannot admit, Bishop, you are right on it. I was not taught how to really deal with my emotions. There are days where I do want to cry. There are days where I do want to vent healthily. There are days when I do want to talk about it. There are days when I don't feel like I'm, a man because society has done this. Society has done that. Media has said this and media has said that. There are days, right? And see, this is not necessarily even a conversation where there should be a lot of, back and forth about it but I get it. You see, the moment you spotlight your own emotions, and I'm talking generally to ladies now because now we're talking about men, when you spotlight your own emotional or your own experiences and not listen, right? Not listen with your feelings, but listen with what we're actually saying, right? That there is a lot of help. There's a lot of conversation about this for women, but there is very few conversations about this for men. And that is a shame because already about 7 out of 10 women are with men or dating men or in some level of a relationship with men and that man has no emotional intelligence, no emotional capacity. And she's not been taught, darling, before you go and stir love up, make sure that you have a capacity for this man's emotions. His heart must safely trust in you. That means you gotta assist him in being and saying, hey, babe, all you gotta do is talk to me about this. All you gotta do is to help him develop language. That your relationship can survive and that you and him can grow together, that there will not be any kind of disconnect, that there will not be any kind of distantiation, that that the intimacy can grow. Into me you see. That's not just a man seeing what a woman wants or what she needs, but that's also seeing a woman seeing what that man needs and desires as well. That's what intimacy is. It's a mutuality there. And sometimes we leave that out of the conversation because, again, in society, it's only taught the importance of a woman's emotional value and not have ascribed that same kind of value that the Bible describes for men, right? This society that we live in labels men out of character, out of what we have attributed to sexuality and gender. Right? And when you read the Psalm was written by men. This poor man cried and the Lord heard him and delivered him, right? That tears belong to men too. Emotions belong to men too. Happiness and joy belong to men too. Love and the display of affection, right? Belong to men too. They belong to little boys. They belong to them. Yes, that helps them to develop. That helps them to be able to say, hey, Dad, I'm really having this issue at school and these guys picking on me and I'm getting so angry I might hurt. And no, son, come on, let's talk about it. Let's ride out. You know what? And even as I'm talking to you, my dad's way of getting his sons to do that was taking us fishing. Oh, my goodness. that he would wake us up in the morning or the day before. He would say, hey, y'all want to go fishing? And you would thought it was December 25th. You would thought it was Christmas Day, right? Because we go to bed early. We make sure he said, we'll go in the backyard and dig some bait. And man, my brothers and I, we get our little cans and our little, thing to dig our baits. We go under rocks and get our crickets, right? Because we knew he was going to stop at the store. And all of that was my dad's way of being emotional, teaching us how to fish, teaching us the different kinds of fish, talking to us about school. Man, what's going on in your school, man? That's my dad was a fast talker. What's going on with your school, man? Yeah. Man, what's happening? Yeah, man. Hey, hey, you got to get them grades up now. That was the best way he understood his emotions and being able to bridge the gap with his sons. Absolutely. Retrospectively, I could see that now. Just taking us out on the water and be like, hey, and man, I'm telling you, those days were some of the best days of my life. Absolutely. And because that was his way, his attempt of expressing his emotions and finding out where his sons were, right? That we run up to him and say, yeah, daddy, I caught this fish, blah, 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 blah. And he wouldn't help us reel it in. He'd say, hey, we get a big fish on the line. He said, oh, reel it in yourself. You can do it. Man, and he would give us not no hug now. We ain't gonna, because for men of his generation, that was a little bit too far. But he'd give us that dap, man. He's like, yo, sport, that's how you do it. That's it. Yeah, man, you got that. Yeah. Hey, man, that's a nice fish right there. Man, I wish I'd have caught that. That was his way of expressing emotions, because otherwise he didn't have any vocabulary and any articulation to express his heart. And I'm glad that by the end of his life, that one of the poignant moments was all of my brothers, the hospital had told us that they could do no more. And of course, we like, yo, well, we're going to take him to some of that. But we all gathered around his bed and talked to him. It was the day before Thanksgiving that my brothers were going to take him to Atlanta to find another doctor and we just sat around his bed and laughed and made him laugh and talked about the past and prayed for him and just allowed him to cry and allowed him to touch us and us touch him. Yeah, that was what, we did. And I'm so glad that at least he was able to express some level of emotions, to have the sons and to see our lives turn out the way that it did. And that brought tears to his eyes. And that was something for him. It wasn't necessarily for us, I believe, but I think that was something for him, that God healed his emotions by all of his sons. The last time that he saw us alive together in that room, and he just cried, right? And that was something very powerful. And we need to definitely give men that space to share those emotions. So much more I want to talk about. But at last, I see the runway. Listen, this is the Coach Call with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith, right here, Praise 93.3. Listen, I need you to stay with me as we land this plane. Got a little bit more to tell you. Don't miss it.
This is the world premiere.
What a show today. Listen, I need you all to tune in tomorrow morning. It's going to be a great show. We've had a wonderful time today. I want y'all to be good to each other. Listen, at the end of every phone call, my grandmother used to say, and my mom says, I love your bushel. I love your peck. I love your hug around the neck. This has been the Bishop. That's right, L. Spencer Smith, right here on the Culture Call. Praise 93.3 and WTSK. Be kind. Make sure that you love intentionally. I want you to, if you missed this, go to our podcast and listen to it over and over again, as much as you need to be able to take the journey with the men. I believe it's necessary. Listen, y'all have a beautiful and wonderful day. We are out here. Peace.